Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ruben. Hopefully you can hear me okay. We'll get started here in just a minute. All righty, it's 1:30, everyone. I guess we'll go ahead and get started on this. If you would just please remember to keep your phones on mute as we go. I'm going to keep this pretty informal. And again, if there's questions along the way, just speak up and we'll go from there. Okay, this is the grant application workshop for fiscal year 2022 for the Water Protection Fund program. My name is Ruben Teran. I'm the executive director for the program and staff as well. So a little bit of background on the purpose. The Water Protection Fund is a competitive state program that provides funding for projects that protect water quality, water quantity, and projects that maintain and enhance river and riparian resources, including projects that benefit fish and wildlife that are dependent on these resources. The full definition there is given per statute. Some overall program objectives, again, to provide measurable benefits to water resources through broad-based support. The program likes to provide positive examples for other similar projects, again, to use the program as a resource to help other interested applicants or other project proponents across the state. We'd like to advance the field of water conservation knowledge in Arizona and also increase public awareness of the function and value of riparian resources across the state. Some fundamental principles of the program. The Commission likes to see projects that are proposed from the bottom up rather than the top down. The program supports locally acceptable solutions rather than have the state dictate specific measures, specific projects or priorities or areas of concern. The Water Protection Fund Commission's priority is to fund high quality on the ground solutions, and for that reason, a majority of the funds that come up through the program are earmarked for capital projects. And I will discuss a little bit more about the Commission and what we mean by capital projects as we move forward. So some general project guidelines. I tell applicants, if your project or idea fits into one of these categories, you're looking pretty good as far as fitting into this funding program. So again, we look for projects that demonstrate direct benefits to perennial or intermittent rivers or streams. Any project that protects, restores native riparian habitat and vegetation. Projects that properly restore hydrologic conditions and functions. Projects that restore stream geomorphology or channel characteristics. Projects that support or restore wetlands and backwaters. Large-scale landscape projects or smaller projects that improve watershed conditions. Any projects that restore habitat needs for fish and wildlife that are dependent on riparian resources. And projects that decrease the impacts of non-native species to riparian areas. For example, projects that remove tamarisk or other invasive species that might dominate a riparian section or corridor. So this year, the Water Protection Fund Commission will be funding under three categories. The first of these are capital projects, or the capital project category. And as I mentioned earlier, these are on-the-ground measures or projects that maintain, enhance, and restore river and riparian resources. Again, including projects that benefit fish and wildlife. This also includes, in our definition of capital projects, the acquisition of Central Arizona project water or effluent to restore and maintain river and riparian resources. And there's also a third part of this, the feasibility of design studies. And this is specifically if they investigate the feasibility of implementing a specific capital project. So the feasibility, a little bit more on that, on these design studies. So essentially the commission has in the past funded, if you say you have a project idea that you want to implement, but you're not sure if the measures, or you need to try to create a budget to see what it actually take to implement that project. If you can pull all those aspects into the project and the commission selects it for funding, they would provide you funding to do essentially like a research design on implementing that specific project. But at the end of the day, we would expect to have a fully implementable restoration plan and a budget developed that to implement the capital project that you have looked into. The other category is research. Again, this is innovative research and data collection efforts which are related to the goals and purposes of the fund. One thing to keep in mind that is limited to 5% of the funds that are received in any fiscal year. And the last part, or the last funding category, is water conservation. And again, these are measures which develop or promote or implement programs designed to conserve water for the purposes related to the Water Protection Fund program. These must be located outside of the 5 Arizona Department of Water Resources active management areas, as within the AMAs, they typically have funding or are already doing conservation measures, water conservation measures. So again, the legislature was looking for this to fund similar type water conservation efforts outside of the active management areas. So eligibility, any person, organization, local, state, tribal agency, political subdivision of Arizona may submit a request for funding. One thing to keep in mind is that federal agencies themselves are not eligible to receive funding through the program. However, funding can be awarded to projects on federal lands. So we have had in the past either nonprofit groups or foundations for federal agencies, for example, be applicants for a project that would essentially take place on federal lands. So again, that is a possibility. But again, if you're, for example, with the U.S. Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, or Bureau of Land Management, for example, you would not be eligible yourselves to apply for the funding. Again, this is written into our statutes. Some requirements: you must have legal and physical access to the property or project location and the authority to implement the project. Again, that can be various. If you are the landowner, obviously you would have that documentation and authority to do that. But if you were, for example, a proponent that wanted to do something on private land or state trust lands, again, you have to make sure that you have access, physical and legal access to that, and the authority to do that. I did see a question from Mr. Durham, and I'll answer that at the end of if you don't mind, Dave. Thank you. So where are we at here? The second bullet here, you must provide appropriate documentation for any water that will be used project is legally and physically available to the applicant for the stated purpose. So again, if you're going to be diverting water from a stream for revegetation efforts or any kind of using water in any aspect, again, we just want to make sure, you should be aware that you'll have to have the certificate of water right or other legal instrument that allows you to use the water for the specific purpose related to your project. You must demonstrate that vital partnerships, again, funding, project site access, have been committed at the time of the application. Again, these might be letters directly to you, just giving you access or support. Again, if these don't have this, maybe even just a letter of support with a plan to obtain, written access. Again, once if the contract is or the grant is awarded, we'll be looking to have all that documentation in place before you guys actually get going on the ground. And to answer the question that came up, if federal dollars can be used for match, yes, they can. Any dollars that would be provided to the program to supplement the Water Protection Fund dollars can be used as match as well. The last thing to keep in mind, the administrative costs must be limited to 5% of the total project implementation funds requested. So we know, or do know in the past that, some entities, might have a 10 or 20% overhead. Maybe some of your contractors might have overhead charge that they charge to the project. Just be aware that we do keep track of those, especially if we're paying them out of Water Protection Fund dollars, that those costs need to be limited to 5%. If you're paying them out of your matching dollars, there's no limit on those. But if you're going to be paying anyone with state Water Protection Fund dollars, we need to make sure that those costs administrative costs or overhead costs are limited to 5% whenever you do submit billing. And again, this is part of our statutory requirements for the program, that most of these dollars will go to the actual implementation of the project and not to administrative costs. So there are some things to be aware of for ineligibility, and this is in accordance with state statutes. The purchase of real property or conservation easements is not allowed with Water Protection Fund dollars. Any projects implemented outside of the state of Arizona are not eligible. Any project that includes the planting of mesquite, tamarisk, or salt cedar, or other non-native high water use trees that consume water to a degree that is detrimental to conservation efforts cannot be funded. Remedial actions under the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act, or CERCLA, some of you might know that, or Water Quality Assurance Revolving Fund, those actions cannot be funded through our program. Research projects with funding requests in excess of 5% of the total funds received for fiscal year 22. So again, we did receive $1.25 million in funding from the legislature this year. So 5% of that is $62,500. So if there's anyone that's thinking about a research project, that would be the limit that the commission would be able to fund for a research project in this cycle. And as I mentioned earlier, water conservation programs within an active management area are not eligible for funding through our program. Some other ineligible applications, and these are in accordance with commission policy. So projects that are located in areas with elevated levels of environmental contamination, projects that are required as a result of a legal action by regulatory agencies. So for example, if someone does something and they, for mitigation, have to go restore X amount of acres as part of their settlement or whatever, we can't be part of those or fund those types of projects. Projects that are designed to meet wastewater treatment requirements are not eligible. However, if projects that create or sustain riparian habitat using treated effluent or recycled water that already meets the relevant state and federal standards may be considered, again, as long as they meet the goals and purposes of the program under statute. Generally, the commission does not fund groundwater recharge or recovery projects, although we have done some in past years. Generally, the commission hasn't funded many of those projects. And projects failing to document, again, access, control, and tenure of the land or available water rights or availability of water for the project, again, are ineligible for funding. So I did want to touch briefly on the Water Protection Fund Commission. Okay, and I did see a question here. Are there requirements around the percentage of match that is cash versus in kind? So one thing to keep in mind about that is that their matching dollars are not required for the Water Protection Fund program. Again, the commission encourages, matching dollars, but yeah, there is no requirement for those. But again, the commission does look favorably on projects that do provide matching dollars or cost share dollars to help support the project. But again, there is no requirement on matching funds. Okay, the Water Protection Fund Commission. So again, there is a publicly appointed commission. I'm not going to go through all these, but just wanted to give you a sense of the way the commission is set up, there's a 13-member commission that is appointed by members appointed by the governor, the president of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. We do have a district governing board, the CAP board, that appoints a member to this. And we do have the Intertribal Council of Arizona also appoints a member. However, that position has been vacant for some time. Those are the voting members of the Water Protection Fund Commission. So these are the entities that would be actually selecting grants and providing provisions for grant, the amount of funding made available, and the projects that actually get selected for funding and go through to contract. The voting members on top will be the ones that will make those final decisions. As you can see there, pretty diverse. Central Arizona Project representatives, Salt River Project, commission member from the city of Scottsdale. The remaining ones represent natural resource conservation districts across the state, and again, our vacant tribal position. We also have non-voting ex officio members that are provided by statute against the director of the Department of Water Resources, the state land commissioner, a member of the Senate, and a member of the House of Representatives. And again, these are non-voting members, but they do provide input and may provide guidance to the overall commission if and when necessary. So just wanted to touch briefly on some commission priorities again. So there were priorities that we have in statute that we do fund, but these are other things like through policy that the commission, the types of projects that the commission likes to see through the program. Projects that directly benefit perennial or intermittent rivers or streams, or that otherwise increase the supply of water. Projects that provide matching monies or assets of comparable value, including in-kind contributions from other sources. Again, as I mentioned, matching dollars are not required for the program, but again, the commission likes to see those if they are available, just to see that there is some support for the project that's being proposed. Projects that provide for the continued maintenance of the portion of river or stream and associated riparian habitat that are enhanced by the project. Again, and this is more leading towards the long-term maintenance. If there's a commitment to, if the commission is going to be investing seed money into a project, they would like to know or have sense that the applicant, is willing to maintain that. And I do believe I'll touch on it in a bit, but there is a 20-year operation and maintenance clause that's in our grant award contracts. Again, just the commission is wanting to see their investments protected in the long term. And projects that include broad-based local involvement. The commission really likes to see, again, letters of support that you reached out to your community, your neighbors, and you do have support from the your local community to implement the project that you proposed. A few other commission priorities, projects that enhance, maintain, or restore river and stream resources in headwater streams and watersheds that will provide direct improvements to water quality and or increase water quantity. Also projects that address degraded watershed health conditions or impacts to perennial streams through the implementation of scientifically based restoration projects. Again, that's primarily what we see through the program. But again, not primarily, but watershed health conditions is something that came up several years ago. Again, instead of looking directly at the channel, the stream channels, the commission, also saw value in restoring the uplands and the watershed as a whole. So again, those projects, we've been seeing more of those types of projects coming in recent grant years. And if for the purposes of water conservation projects, how the applicant estimates the water increases or savings and how that estimate was determined. So I did get a couple questions in the chat, and I'll go ahead and answer those before I move on. So one was, is the AMA restriction only to applicable water conservation projects? Yes, that if it's a water type conservation project, we can't fund that. But if it is a capital restoration or a river restoration project or something within an AMA, we can fund those. It would only be limited to if the project was really trying to do a water conservation measure. And we can talk about more of that if someone has specific questions on that. But again, the projects in the AMAs are only limited to those specifically dealing with water conservation measures. And I think that answers your second question. Capital projects can be within the AMA, and yes, they can. So for those that haven't been with the program, so I'll go through the grant application content requirements. And first of all, just wanted to touch base on some of the major changes that we are doing for fiscal year 2022. So this year, applications are only being accepted electronically via the eCivis grant management software system. A direct link will be provided on the Water Protection Fund website, which I provide here, and we'll also go to that here in a bit. I'll show you where that's located. But again, hard copies will no longer be accepted for this grant cycle. This is the first year we are trying out the eCivis system. So again, we had just to work through some issues and getting everything set up, but it should be ready to go. And I'll mention this again later, but I will be available for the next month or so to help folks if they have any questions getting an eCivis or any questions about the application process as a whole and what we're doing. I'm here to help you guys out. One thing to note about the eCivis is that you will need to create a user account to apply for this grant fund opportunity. If you refer to your grant application manual that's available on the website, if you haven't downloaded it, I highly suggest you download that and read through it. It goes, I'm touching on pieces of it, but really goes into detail about a lot of the categories and things that I've discussed today. But as Appendix B to that manual, there is a guide that was provided through the eCivis staff to help potential applicants, again, creating a login and how you find the grant opportunities and applying. So there is some additional reference information for that. And the last piece is that grant application documents will need to be developed electronically or converted into an electronic format, for example, being scanned or maybe a photo of something, and uploaded into the eCivis grant application portal. I've set up the application process within eCivis so that almost everything that would normally be submitted hard copy would be, just be able to upload directly into the system. So application requirements, if and when you do have your application manual put together, I do want to refer you to page 12. That is the place where it lists out everything that's required for our Water Protection Fund application. I did make available electronic forms and templates in Word, Microsoft Word, and Excel. Again, you can see them there, the cover page, executive summary template, project overview, project location, environmental contamination. Again, these are on the website, and they will also be available within the application portal itself to download and fill out. But again, just one thing to note that these forms do not constitute the entire required application package. And I did see a couple questions come up, and I will get to those in a second if you don't mind. A couple other things. The eCivis portal allows applicants to submit all the information in the sequence provided in the contents overview that I mentioned on page 12. And the grant application cover page and state historic authorization forms must be signed by a person that's legally authorized to essentially enter your entity into an agreement. So again, if people have questions on that, just let me know. And the last point I wanted to make is the application deadline is on September 3rd of 2021 at exactly 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., the application portal will shut down. So if you have any, I wouldn't wait till the last minute, just in case. If you have any questions, again, as you're going through that, please contact me before and I can help you work out any questions you might have as you're going through the application process. So for those of you that did want to stick around after I finish my presentation, I will be giving a demonstration on the portal, actually logging in and showing you what it's going to look like. So again, you're welcome to stick around, and I'll be available again until everyone hangs up on the call to answer any questions that you might have after. But again, just want to let you know that I'll be providing a short demo on how this thing is going to work for you guys moving forward. So wanted to touch base real quick on the applications, the way your applications will be reviewed once they are received. So I will do an initial review for completeness and consistency with state statutes. The page numbers here on this page are actually referring to those described in the grant application manual, just for your reference. I will be reviewing each application according to the evaluation criteria that's in the grant application manual on page 8 and 10, and I'll touch on those in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. There is the potential for outside review by other state or federal agencies or interested local governments as necessary. For example, if there's issues that might be related to endangered species, or maybe there's water rights information that we weren't clear on in the application, we may ask, Department of Water Resources Service Water Program or Wells Program, for example, to review those and provide, some technical comments on that. And the last bullet here is that each Water Protection Fund commissioner is provided a copy of the grant application. Again, they will review it. Again, they have their own evaluation criteria, their own knowledge of their things and opinions on the grant application. So they do provide their own review and on the grant applications themselves. Again, they do take staff reviews into consideration during funding, when they're deciding funding. But again, they use their own judgment, and as a appointed political entity, they have their opinion on what projects they like to see. But I just want to let folks know that even though your application review from staff might be very might be rated pretty high, the commissioners again have their own evaluation criteria and their own input that they might put into selecting applications. So touching on the capital and water conservation projects, again, if your project demonstrates that it will enhance or maintain or restore river and stream restoration riparian resources, it's going to do pretty well. If it benefits fish and wildlife, again, that'll score pretty well. We'll look at the feasibility of your project. What are you proposing? What methods are you going to be using? Does it look, consistent with what we've seen in the past? Is something that that there might be concerns or issues with? We'll look at that. Monitoring, if there's a monitoring component, we'll be looking at that. I mean, the commission likes to see projects that do have a monitoring program built into it, again, just to document successes or challenges that come from implementing a project in a certain landscape. Again, that's part of the getting knowledge out to the general public and sharing knowledge on what we learn with the projects that we fund here through our program. And there's also some other considerations, the budget, what you guys are asking for funding. We'll look at several other considerations, but again, those are more detailed out in the grant application manual if you want to see how your project will be evaluated. Under the research program, again, we're looking if the research is applicable to the stated program goals. If the application demonstrates the use of the scientific method. If the proposal, if it does include, we will look at if it does include some form of publication as a deliverable, essentially, maybe a final thesis report or just a final report on the findings of your research, and the commitment to some form of public presentation or distribution, again, getting the word out on, what you learned from your research project. Again, looking at feasibility, making sure that, the results that you're gonna have from your research, the data and everything, can that be translatable to other entities? Can they use it? Can they take that data and learn from it and maybe apply it to something that they're doing? We'll look at those, and again, some other considerations that are outlined in the grant application manual. And there's some general information for applicants. So just wanted to let you know that once you submit an application, there are no scope of work changes allowed during the application review process. The applications do go through a 45-day public comment period. Again, so once you hit the submit button and everything's done, we're taking your application at face value as it is. And there can't be any changes or anything to the scope of work after it's been submitted. The applicants, you guys do have the option to present to the commission during the funding meeting, which takes place in November. The commission does allow a 10 to 15-minute presentation for each application if they're interested. Again, this would be kind of the time that you would sell your project I guess the last opportunity to sell your project to the commission. There's an opportunity for questions and answers if they need clarification on something from staff review or something, other questions they might have for the applicant. At that point, it just provides a forum of communication between the commission and the applicant. So I encourage, if you are going to be submitting an application, to take advantage of that. So this is post-grant award. The grant award notification, does not authorize immediate expenditure of funds. All grants are essentially, when a grant is made, is essentially a contract between you, the entity, and the Water Protection Fund Commission to implement the project that you have submitted. Those are all implemented through contracts with deliverables and due dates for payments and reports, progress reports, etc. So again, if you do get funded, I don't recommend to go out and start spending dollars, because this is all tying into the next bullet. All the payments are made on a cost reimbursement basis within the grant award contract. The commission is not liable for any costs or work prior to a fully executed contract agreement. One thing to note, on the cover page, there is a checkbox for an optional 20% advance. And again, so if you would be looking to potentially request an advance of your grant, the commission does allow that. Just make sure that box is checked, and we'll write in those provisions into your grant award contract should you get funded. But again, just note that applicants do have that option. And on page 34 of the grant application manual, there are the contract general provisions. Again, these are just kind of standard clause provisions for all of our contracts. So I just wanted to make sure that if you have your legal staff or administration to please review those and just make sure there's nothing in there that you guys would not be, be able to agree to. Within our grant provision, when we're writing those, we do have a section for special provisions that would change the or modify the general provisions that are on page 34. Again, we do have, there are sometimes with different grantees, some of the provisions they can't abide to. So, with discussion with the commission and our legal staff, there's a potential to modify those or change those, but just wanted to make you aware to please look at those and just be, I guess, understand up front that those would be included as part of the grant award contract. For project proponents, just note that contracts and agreements may extend up to 5 years. Typically, a lot of our grant contracts are done within 3. They'll have like a year for permitting and a year or 2 for implementation and monitoring, and then closing out around 3 years. But in the event that there are unforeseen issues, or you might have an extended implementation period or monitoring period, we can write contracts up to 5 years. Contracts or amendments to the contracts are permitted depending on the scope, but we would need commission approval to do those. Like I said, depending on the scope, if they're just changing dates or something like that, or extending things, we'd have to get commission approval and signed off by the commission to make those changes. As I mentioned earlier, our grant award contract does have a provision for operation and maintenance of the capital improvements made to the project for 20 years. Again, depending on what you're doing, the scope, and what's actually being implemented. That might change, but again, just standard. The commission again likes to see long-term investments in their or protections on the investments that they make through this program. There is required site access for inspection and evaluation by staff and or the commission. Again, these would just be site visits. We might go up periodically to see what's happening on the ground. Usually towards the end of the project, I'd like to go out and just see everything on the ground, how it was implemented, make sure everything was done according to the agreements. We do require accounting practices and record keeping for this. Again, because these are public files, they could be audited at any time. So again, making sure that we have all the paperwork on file relating to access, any water right information to be on there. Accounting, we do require pretty detailed accounting on any reimbursement for grant expenditures, which would be detailed expenditure record plus backup information like receipts or invoices from you or your contractors if you're using those, receipts for materials, supplies, things like that. So those are all kept as part of the file. So we do ask you to keep those organized as we move forward. And again, the submittal of all data, results, and research that is gained from all projects. Again, so if you're out collecting monitoring data, photo data, things like that, we do require that those things do be submitted since they're being funded with state dollars to have. And again, can be requested by the public through public information requests should somebody want to see some of the project data or reports that are generated from our projects. And the last part of it, towards the end of the grant award contract, we do write in there that applicants do go present to the commission one more time, kind of the final results. Again, this is usually done during a commission meeting. I might schedule 2 or 3 at a time, depending on which projects are closing out within the 3 to 6 months within that commission meeting time frame. So again, it just gives you, the applicants and the grantees at that point, the opportunity to go present your final results to the commission. And again, they might have follow-up questions on how things went during the grant period. And again, any information or lessons learned from that. So there is something we can do at the end of the grant contract period. So going into the cycle, so the grant application manual was available on July 9th, and hopefully, I do see folks that are here, so glad you got to see that. There was also a news release that went out. Again, the grant application manual is currently available on the website, the Water Protection Fund website. Today, again, we're doing our application workshop in the webinar. I will again be making myself available, like I mentioned earlier, through the end of this month and through all of August. If any of you at any point have any questions about the program, about the application process, about criteria, you just want to talk in general about your project and what you're proposing to see, if I had any, I'm happy to provide any input or thoughts on that at your leisure. We can, just talk over the phone if it's a quick couple questions. But if you would like to get in, and I'm making myself available to review a draft of your application, I'm happy to do that for you. But if that would be the instance, I would just request that you send me an email. We could set up a time to do that and provide me a copy of your application, and I'd be happy to go through it. We can set up a meeting and I'll give you some insight or some suggestions, maybe things that you might want to include, or maybe clarification on some points, and just look at what you've submitted, provide you feedback to help you, hopefully help you put together a stronger application. So I will be available through the end of August or pretty much till the deadline day. So just let me know, send me an email if you have any questions on that or would like to set something up. The online portal should be available no later than July 30th. It's pretty much ready to go. I just wanted to get through today's demonstration to make sure there's going to be no other hiccups on it and make sure everything was ready to go. But by this Friday, again, I will have that link. If not today, then by Friday, we'll have the grant application link ready to go on the website. And again, keep in mind, September 3rd at 5 p.m. is the application deadline. Again, the 45-day public comment period I mentioned earlier will run from September 15th through October 29th. My comments, staff review comments to the applicants of the commission will be provided to you no later than November 10th. The applicant presentations and the commission grant selections that I mentioned previously will take place tentatively right now from November 16th through the 18th, and that will depend on the number of applications that we receive this year. If we have many applications, typically we've gone to 2-day meetings, but again, it all just kind of depends on how many applications come in. So that's, at least the commission has blocked off those 3 days to be able to accommodate all the application presentations and make their final grant award selections. So by December, applicants would be notified of their funding status, either funded or not funded, and then I will begin writing contracts again end of December and beginning into January of next year. We'll start getting those contracts written and hopefully get those projects on the ground. So again, thank you for your time and interest in the Water Protection Fund. I think we had some questions on there. Let me see if I can stop sharing my screen. We can look at the questions. And then again, for those of you that want to stick around, I'm going to jump into the application portal on this, and we'll go just kind of give you a demo on how that might work. So let me give me a second here. Let me stop sharing this screen. And let me check out the chat. Okay, so there was a question, is there a max dollar amount that can be applied for? No, there is no maximum amount. Within previous years, the commission has funded projects all the way from $30,000 up to $1 million. So no, there is no max. Again, just keep in mind that this is a competitive grant program. So you would be competing against other individuals, depending on what the scope is and what you're doing. The commission would select those projects. I can generally say over the last few grant cycles, at least, the average grant award has been, between $150,000 to $300,000 approximately. But no, there is no max amount that you can apply for whatever you think you need to complete the project. So another question, will the commission only consider projects focused on a specific locality, or would projects working statewide be eligible? Again, the commission would fund any project, whether it's local or statewide. If you're talking about a statewide project, I guess we'd have to understand what you're trying to do, if that be more of a research project statewide. But again, any projects all over the state are eligible, so there is no specific focal area that the commission is looking at. Any county, any river, stream, any watershed, those would all be eligible at this point. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me see, what updates to comprehensive plans or other policy projects like revised land use zones and codes be considered as capital projects? That I'm not sure that would be considered a capital project. Again, if that type would be referring back to restoring river riparian resources, again, you'd have to make sure that those questions or those types of projects again would fit into the scope and goals of the program. And if whoever posed that question, we can talk again offline on that in more detail if that didn't answer your question. One more question, should the project budget only include items being charged to AWPF? So if you are going to be providing any matching dollars to the project, the commission would like to see those budgets. I do have budget templates, again, in Excel format that you're welcome to use. One being specifically for water protection fund requested dollars. But again, if you do have matching funds, we would like to see that just to kind of see how the projects would be cost shared at that point. So yes, if we do have matching funds, I would expect to see a matching budget in some format provided with the application. Should the scope of work only contain tasks to be funded by Water Protection Fund? I would recommend that, again, whatever you're asking the commission to fund, but also either in supplemental information, or even the scope of work. I mean, you could probably, in your task description, identify what you would be asking Water Protection Fund dollars to fund, and if you're having federal or other cost share dollars fund another part of that task, that would be helpful to know in the evaluation program, just so we kind of know what we're paying for. Again, when we write the contract, we would be writing it from the Water Protection Fund's perspective. What are we paying for? Again, I don't track matching cost share dollars for the project. They are considered and looked at during the application phase, but during the implementation of the project, we don't require or track any of the matching dollars. So again, as long as you're completing what you stated in the scope of work that Water Protection is going to be paying for, those are things I'd be looking at, and looking at costs and charges associated to those. Again, there's no harm, and if you wanted to share that what you guys are cost sharing those dollars on in a separate document with your reimbursement requests or reports, that would be tremendously helpful. And again, if there's any specific questions, feel free to contact me or call me, and we can talk more details about that. But hopefully that answered your question. Any other questions? You can unmute yourselves and ask them since we're here. I did see another question on the chat. Says our waterfront park has a combination of recreational use beaches to some natural areas. Can water protection fund dollars be used for both? Again, waterfront park, I'd probably need a little bit more information on what that is, what you would be looking at. And again, would this tie back to either increasing water supply, water quality, water quantity, benefit riparian habitat that's there? So I'm not saying no at this point, but I think probably a little bit more detail on what you would be proposing would be helpful to know. So again, you can reach out to me following this via phone call or something, and we can talk more about that. Okay, if nothing else, I will go ahead and show you guys the portal. If you give me a second here. Okay, so I hope you're seeing, I am showing the eCivis application portal. Well, I'm showing Chrome right now. So on our website, if you haven't been to our website yet, this is the Water Protection Fund homepage. If you scroll here, if you go down to the FY22 grant cycle page and click on that, it'll bring you to this page. Again, here are the forms that are available for download and filling out if you'd like. Again, the schedule that we just discussed is down here as well. The manual is also available on here for your reference. And right here, if you're seeing this, this is where I'm going to be posting the link that I'm going to show here in a second. So when you're ready to apply and you've got everything ready to go, go ahead and you're going to click on the link that's coming soon here. And when you click that, it's going to take you to this page. So hopefully you can all see an eCivis page on there. On here again, so this is the solicitation that will be provided with for the grant application phase. And I do believe we do have a member from the eCivis team here in case there are any questions, technical questions that I can answer. We'll be able to hopefully address any questions you have regarding the portal here. So just wanted to go through this real quick. So overview, again, what the summary of the program is. I went over that earlier. If you click on this, eligibility, we went over that in the workshop earlier, who's eligible to apply. The financial information, again, this $1.25 million that shows is available. I just wanted to be clear that that is the amount that was provided through the budget, through the state budget this year to the Water Protection Fund program. At the end of the day, the commission is not obligated to grant all of that out on this during this grant cycle. Again, that's what's there. There are a few dollars, maybe a couple $100,000 that are still in the Water Protection Fund balance as a whole that are unobligated that the commission may also add kind of to the funding pool. But again, this number here is just, we had to have a number in there for funds that are available. So I just want to let you know that that is, the commission may again award up to that amount. They may decide to only fund 2 projects and maybe only fund $500,000 out of that. But again, that's a commission's purview when they come to that point during the application voting section. But at least right now, this is what we received from legislative appropriations to the program. As I mentioned earlier, matching funds are not required. And administrative costs 5%. Again, payments are on a cost reimbursable basis. And again, we do request that detailed accounting, record keeping will be required. Contact information, my contact information here is my email address, phone number as well, and the physical address of the Department of Water Resources. And on the files tab, again, is the same files that were available on the website page are also available here in case you just come here. Again, you can download these at your leisure, fill them out, and then we'll be using those to apply as you go forward. So once you've kind of looked at that and you're comfortable with that, there's some notes here. You'll go to this apply button here. So you go to click on apply, and you'll be taken to the eCivis portal. So at this point, if you do not have an account within eCivis, you'll need to go to the green button here and create an account. It's pretty quick, name, organization, just some information about you, and it's gonna, when you go forward in the application process, it will link your account information to your specific grant application. So so again, if you haven't done that, that'll probably be the first step. It's going to ask you to do that. And once you come back, it might kick you back out to the portal to log in once you have your information. But I just wanted to go ahead and log in with my information as I would be a potential applicant. And it doesn't like that. Okay, something happened. All right. Okay, there we go. Sorry, my password. So when you do log in, you will come to this page and you'll see it, my applications, my awards, and my profile. I've created a kind of a test application here that I'll just show you what it looks like once you filled everything out. But what you're going to want to do, this, unless you're a previous user, this whole section will be blank at that point. So what you're going to want to do is create a new application. And again, you just want to make sure that you're applying for this funding opportunity. So again, as a new user, as a new profile is created, it'll probably ask you to verify your profile information. You can look through that, update any information you need to. If you need to edit it, you can do it at this point. And as you come down, you'll see, because I have a test app, you can just disregard this for now, but you'll see this untitled blank application page here. So when you're ready to get going, you'll go ahead and click on the application process. And I think as a safety feature within eCivis, it may ask you to either verify your login information, or it might make you enter in your login credentials again. Again, that's more of a safety feature as it's moving forward and you're moving forward in the application process. So don't get discouraged if you have to see it and you have to log in again. It's just something that's in there. So when you click here, when you're all ready to go and everything's ready to go, you'll see this green submit button, light up green and be ready right now because nothing's ready to go with this application. It's grayed out. So come down to the application. If there's something that needs action, you'll see action required on these buttons here. But as you're going, you'll click open. And this is essentially the application portal and everything that you need to go. So project title, so I'll just go ahead and you can title it whatever the name of your project is. The application cover page. So I've put in on almost all of these, I've put in a little help or just a reminder note for what goes here. So again, the cover page, again, there's a form that's available either on the website or on the eCivis files tab that we saw earlier. So once you would go fill out your application, sign it, scan it, upload it, have it ready, you can go and actually select the file. So all you would do was go to whatever file folder you had it in. You'd have your cover page form. You go ahead and select that. It shows up here as uploading the file, and it's in there, and it's done. If you wanted to delete that or change it, you can just hit this little trash can button here. Like, oh, you know what? I needed to add something, or I forgot to add in some information, and you upload another one. You can delete it and select another file. One thing, and I have this noted on almost every other question, but just wanted you to be aware that you're the system only allows you to upload one file per question, I guess, if you will, one application section. So again, if you have multiple files to to upload for something. In some instances, and I'll show you down as we scroll down, that I have allowed or added other fields that aren't required, but that you can, upload additional information. Like say you have 2 maps or something, you can upload one, and if there's an extra space, you can upload it again. But my suggestion, just kind of thinking about the application process, if you have multiple documents to include, like several letters of support, for example, you might want to consider combining them into one PDF or one file type and upload them all at once. Again, for other ones, I think there might be several different documents. I've tried to think and set it up that allows you extra spaces to do that, but just one thing to keep in mind. Again, same thing for the executive summary. Once you've got it all filled out on your hard drive or whatever, you can go select the file and find your executive summary template, whatever you created. Again, it'll upload it and it's done. And again, you'll see here, all these projects that have the little asterisk, these are all required. And again, these match the application contents within the grant application manual for all the required contents or components that are required. Again, you'll go through, select files, go through the project location, environmental contaminant information. Again, there's a form for this, the scope of work. There's a template, again, that you can use. If you have another type of scope of work, you're welcome to get that document and upload it. As long as the required components are in there, you can use that. The detailed budget, again, there's a Microsoft Excel file that's available. I know there are other accounting programs or software out there. Again, if you have it and it's not, Excel or something, you want to convert that to a PDF, that's fine. I've set it now so any file type would be accepted under the application portal here. And the maximum size for any one upload is 1,000 megabytes. So I don't think we need files that big, but again, if they're out there, we have that capacity, and any valid file type is acceptable. Again, you're matching cost share budget. So here's again here a template is available, but I did put a note here. If this field is not applicable, I would suggest to upload even just a Word document, just saying something that no matching funds are available for this project. Again, just so I know that at least you've looked at it and you're telling me there are no matching funds, because it will not let you complete the application process until all the required or fields with the asterisk are completed. So again, it's not required, but if you're not going to have anything, just upload a simple Word document to say no matching funds for this project, and that's fine. The watershed map, again, there's a template for that. Schematic maps, I've allowed a couple different fields. Again, let's say you have a large, aerial map or something, Google Earth map on that. You can include it in this one. If you have another file, I included another that's not required. Just another field form that you can select that file and upload it. But again, if you have many maps to submit, consider putting them in a single PDF or something and upload that one file to include all your maps on there. Same thing with ownership maps. I've allowed a couple spaces for those. The State Historic Preservation Office forms. There is a form that's required, again, like I mentioned, to be signed and uploaded. So I would use this first spot for that one. And then I've allowed several other forms or places to upload, again, any other pictures. If there's an ARC report or, that was previous, like an archaeological assessment was done, prior to, and you want to upload that existing file, again, to some other spaces to account or allow you some space to provide some more information. Key personnel, I've put this field as a text field. So again, if you have, you can just type in here, there's no max on the key personnel. So you can type in your names. If you have information, you can copy and paste it into here. So that'll be a text box field. And then down here, I've added, again, another spot here. If you had resumes or something that you wanted to attach, you can use this next field for that. And again, if you have multiple files, maybe consider putting those 3 or 4 resumes into one PDF document and uploading them all at one time. Same thing for project photographs. Again, combine them if you can. Project implementation plans, I've left this to essentially, if you have those written up in a Word document or something, you can copy and paste that information here. And again, but if you have those written out or there's existing plans, say there's an existing watershed improvement project that you're tying to, or another agency master plan that you're implementing under, or if it's part of it. Again, I left some extra spaces here to be able to upload existing reports or other information that would be applicable to your project. Again, I left some more text in case there's anything that you just want to describe about your project that you couldn't upload, or you just want to describe something. I left some space there for text box as well. Letters of community support, if you have those, again, consider combining them into one file and uploading them as one document. If none exist, again, I would just, like I said earlier, just use a simple Word document, just type on there in big font, no letters of support for this project. Again, just so I know, again, because it is a required component. If you have it, we just document that you have it, and that's fine. But as long as you fill the asterisk fields out, we'll be good. Same thing for matching funds. Some projects have them, some projects don't. But if they are going to be pledging matching funds, the commission would like to see letters that funding has actually been committed for the project. So again, you could upload them 1, 2, 3, whatever. If you can combine them into a single document, that'd be great. But again, if you don't have them, again, just a simple Word document, no matching funds for this project, we're fine there. Evidence of control and tenure of land, same thing. If you've got ownership deeds or whatever you would need to document that you have either access or you own the land, again, we would need that. Details, again, are provided in the grant application manual for what would be applicable for this. Again, I left another space in case there's another document or map you might need to submit. Project site access or permission to conduct work. Again, provide a narrative of how the applicant has or will obtain permission to for project work and access. Again, that's just a blank text field. Legality of water. Again, same thing. If you have a certificate of water right, or well information, if you're going to be using a well for whatever reason, again, you have the ability to upload that, multiple files. If you can put them into one, that'd be great. And again, left another file here in case you needed to upload something else. And then also left these optional additional project information. I think I left 3 text box fields and 3 upload fields available. Again, so if there's something that you just couldn't fit in under previous category, or there's other information you would include in your application, you can use these. And again, just make a note here just to let me know, either in the file itself or something. This is supplementing my my project personnel work, or this is supplementing my project location information, just so I know where that would fall or tie back to some of the other information. So again, hopefully leaving some space in there for you to have enough, have enough space and everything to upload your application. You'll notice down here there is a save draft deal. So again, you can come in, start this weekend, start uploading information. You can save the draft, come in a couple days later, work on it some more, upload a few more things. If you come back, change it, swap a page out, you can continue saving the draft until you're all ready to go. Once all the fields with the asterisk, like I noted, are all done, this mark complete button will be available to, you can click on it now, but it probably wouldn't let you because there's required information that's missing. But once all that information is ready to go, you can mark this complete. And once you're done at that point, you won't be able to make any more changes. So again, just save your draft, save it often. And when you're all done with that, you can hit the close button, save your draft, close it, or when you're all done with it, mark complete and close out. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So again, once you're done, it'll take you kind of back to, we named this test application number 2. So from here, when you log into your account, you can click on My Applications, and it'll show you the different applications that you have submitted, either through eCivis, whether for this program or other ones, because you're tied into the larger portal now. But I just wanted to show you real quick what the initial test application that I did for the program might look like once it's all done. So this is my test number 1. I'll go ahead and get back into this. Open it up again. So again, this would have all the everything, all the files that I've uploaded into it. You'll see, again, you can delete information, change it out. Once everything's done and filled out, I could mark this, like I said, mark this as complete, and it'll be done. And once that's all done, I believe on the, and maybe Sarah, you can answer a question if you're still with us. Under the submit button, yeah. So once this, if I hit mark complete and everything was done, this green submit button would light up and we'd be ready to go. And at that point, you would just, let me try it here since we're here. So I'm going to mark this application as complete. Okay, see, so it's telling me that, hey, you didn't upload something, you didn't upload something. So again, it's telling me that I can't mark it complete until all these fields are required. So again, that's just a test to me that I need to go back and fill out other existing parts of that. So again, once you mark complete and everything is good, the this green submit button would light up. And if you're all done, you're happy with everything, you would go ahead and click the green submit and your application will be submitted and you'd be done. You'd probably get an email through your through the account that you said. They'd probably send an email to say, hey, your application has been submitted, and you'll be notified if or when funding is awarded. So hopefully this will help get you folks started. If by any chance you have any questions or issues during the application process, please let me know. Like I said, I'm here to I can walk through this with you, on your end, and hopefully get you all squared away. If you have questions on the forms or anything like that, this should be ready to go. Like I said, I'll probably make this link live either this afternoon or by Friday by the latest, so we can get going on that. And with that, I don't know, are there any other questions? We can open up the line now. Sharon, I don't know if anybody's muted or if they had any questions specifically, but I'd be happy to answer any other questions, or if there's any discussion on this, I'm happy to take those now. Let me see here. So okay, I'm going back to the chat here. I'll touch on a few questions. Is this the same system used by other state agencies? Sarah, thank you for answering. Yes, this is, I believe most of the state agencies are migrating or will at some point migrate to this eCivis system. So if you're already in there, again, you should be tied into that. Okay, thank you, Sarah, for answering those questions. You folks can zoom in on the chat. That again, if you have login information already, when you log into your account or log into this project link, you'll be able to click the apply. It'll take you to your specific project profile, and then you can apply for this grant through your portal if you already have an existing account. Okay.
Just one comment, Ruben. Thank you so much for the presentation. Just also wanted to touch base on the statewide grant management system, eCivis. When you guys are utilizing that for the application, our recommendation is to utilize Google Chrome. We've noticed with Safari, sometimes you might have issues with the application or getting logged in. So definitely try to use Google Chrome.
Thank you for that. Yeah, again, yeah, I'll be sure to let other folks that give me a call to pass along that information. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from folks that are still with us? Okay, it doesn't sound like it. I don't, let me see here. Yep, so again, if anybody wants to talk more, feel free to give me a call at any time or send me an email. We can set up a meeting, usually about a half hour, so it should be good enough to go through and talk through any questions you might have. Or again, if you have a draft of your application you'd like me to review and provide some feedback on it, I'm happy to do that. But again, if it's going to be more than just a few questions, I would suggest just set up a meeting, like a half-hour meeting slot, so we can actually have some time to work through any issues or questions that you might have. So yep, I'm available, again, I said, till the application deadline. So thank you all for your time today. Hopefully this was informative and helpful. Again, this is the first time the program's using this system, so I expect there might be some bumps along the way, but again, thank you, Sarah, for your assistance in getting this set up. And if there are any other questions, we'll defer to eCivis staff if I can't answer them, or go as we need to. So again, thank you all for your time. I'm going to stick around until everybody hangs up today, unless there's any other questions. But again, thank you for your time today, and call me if you have any questions.